official, prepared and planned life. So if the majority of you wants me to do this on a specific day, on a specific time, if it's not at 2 a.m. in the morning for Australia, then I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do weekends. So if it's like during normal awake hours, then I'm happy to do that. So let me know in the comments maybe if you prefer a different day. Well, you're obviously now on live online with me, so that's great. But maybe to the people who watch it in the replay, if this is unsuitable, then let me know. Anyway, so we had 3 topics to talk about. So the first one was skilled migration. The second one was how to find work and sponsorship in Australia. And the third one was about my journey in Australia from backpacker to citizen in less than 5 years. When I think about it, yeah, crazy, but it can be done. So there was 2 topics that were really, really close in winning for today. It was the skilled migration and it was the how to find work and sponsorship in Australia. And the topic that essentially won with the last votes counted today was the second topic on how to find work and sponsorship in Australia. So I'll be speaking about that. And I did prepare a few notes just so I have a bit of a guidance. I will, just speak from the heart and from my knowledge and from my experience, because I have been through this process myself, okay? Because like I said, I arrived in Australia as a backpacker, and I was where many of you are. I was new to the country. I didn't know anyone. Came here by myself. So I needed to start from scratch, and I needed to find work, and I needed to find also for my visa, I needed to find an employer to sponsor me. Okay, so how to go on about it? First of all, who is, show me in the comments, who is currently already in Australia and who is still outside of Australia? If you can just let me know. You can just say inside or outside or onshore or offshore. So just so I get an indication. Because there is a bit of a difference with the process in regards to, looking and applying for work, which then leads eventually to sponsorship, hopefully. Are you guys able to put something in the comments? Ulas is saying onshore. You're very quiet today, audience. This is supposed to be interactive, so feel free to, to engage with me and to answer my questions, because that keeps everyone engaged. Yvonne is outside. All right, okay. So feel free to, put your comments in as we go, and also your questions and things you want to share and things you want me to know. Look, the way you start, there's lots of different ways how to find work and how to find sponsorship. But a very good starting point for anyone, no matter if they're onshore or offshore, is to go online on the online job boards. So in Australia, the biggest job online board is Seek. So it's spelled SEEK.com.au. And that is an online job board, and you can work with keywords. You can look for locations, which is very handy. You can look for keywords such as, for example, if you're an accountant, you can look for accountant jobs. If you are a chef, you can look for chef jobs. And you will see then, the ads popping up, and then you can either apply through the platform, so through Seek, or you can apply via the contact details that are provided. Sometimes there's also recruitment agencies, either on Seek, or you can also apply with recruitment agencies. There's pros and cons about recruitment agencies. The pro is definitely like you have usually one contact person that you give your details to, like your CV, your cover letter, your information, and then they kind of look for you, and then they match you up with the companies and organizations and employers that they have. This process can work from both starting points, onshore and or offshore. Of course, at the moment, borders are still closed because of COVID-19, and that just makes it all a bit harder for people who are currently offshore. But nevertheless, please don't give up. Yeah, there hopefully will be an end to this situation soon, and borders will open. And there's still ways you can already enter Australia. So that means, for example, if your occupation is on the priority skills list, you can enter. Obviously, there's a process to that. Maybe I do a live about that another time. And if you have, for example, family members. So there's means and ways how you can enter Australia, okay, even though the borders are officially closed. And it's also very good to start preparing your process. Okay, I'm just checking the comments quickly. So a few people now commenting inside. Vaja is saying offshore, but the spouse is onshore. Yeah, see, so Vaja, maybe it would be good for you to book a consultation so we can see how you can actually come back onshore and join your spouse in Australia. So there's means and ways how to, how to do that with travel exemptions and so on. Catching says currently onshore accounting graduate in Darwin. Yeah, we have a lot of accounting graduates in Darwin and also interstate. Okay, so Facebook people are more active than Instagram like last time. That's all right. Anyone is welcome. And maybe a few more people will join as we come along. And like I said, you can also obviously watch the recording. The recording will be put online straight after this live. We aim for 30 to 45 minutes. We don't want to make it too long. Having said that, if we build up an audience and if there's lots of questions and comments and if it's very engaging, then I'm here. Okay, so I'm here. But let's continue. So I was talking about Seek and I was talking about recruitment agencies. So this is a starting point. And then obviously you need to make sure that you have a really amazing CV. Okay, so you have to make sure that your CV is complete in really good English and good format, and that it includes all the things that you were doing in regards to your qualifications and in regards to your work experience. If you, for example, find that your English may not be 100%, or if you just find you're not really good in writing CVs, there is providers available that you can use who write the CV for you. And it's not actually very expensive. Obviously, there's probably a spectrum. I think I've seen CV writers for $100 for a CV, which is honestly, if you get a good CV, $100 is not a lot of money for what you're getting. Just make sure, like always, do your research, check the reviews, maybe ask around, maybe put a post up on Facebook or Instagram and ask. So good CV, a good cover letter, and sometimes positions require you to answer selection criteria. Okay, so sometimes employers have certain criteria that you need to answer in the cover letter. Okay, so we have the CV, we have the cover letter, you apply, and then ideally you get shortlisted and then you get invited to an interview. Again, for the interview, make sure that you prepare. And in regards to preparation, I can recommend obviously learn about the company. So, I'm an employer. And so when I have interviews with people who want to work for me, I want to know that they know about my business. And I want to know reasons as to why have they applied for the job, why do they want to work with me in my company. And if I feel that they have not prepared really well, then that's already not good. Yeah. So prepare for the interview, and then ideally the interview goes really well. And ideally you get the job offer. Okay. Oh, one thing I want to mention also, in the application, so when you apply for the job, I would not say in the letter, before you actually spoke to someone and met someone, I wouldn't really mention straight away that you're looking for sponsorship, because that can be a real turn off for employers. So I wouldn't mention it straight away. Having said that, if they ask you during the interview, or even if they call you and ask you some questions, and if they ask you, do you need sponsorship or are you after sponsorship? I wouldn't really lie, but I wouldn't be sounding too desperate, if that makes sense, okay? So I wouldn't be like, yes, I need sponsorship because otherwise I have to leave, or otherwise, So just maybe say, yeah, I would definitely consider sponsorship. And if sometimes employers, that's when they switch off, and that's when they, think, nah, it's too hard. So if they, for example, would say, we don't sponsor, then look, I would take it with a grain of salt, because people say something and they may change their mind later. So that actually happened to me in my situation when I was going for the job that later on gave me sponsorship. So I was applying for the job. I had everything like completely normal. The job was advertised. I applied for it. I was shortlisted. I was interviewed, and then I started the job. And then I asked for sponsorship after some time, and then I was told, no, we don't sponsor. That was what I was told from multiple people in that organization. I was told we don't sponsor. Well, I was obviously disappointed and a little bit disheartened, but I didn't give up. And then I spoke to someone who was a decision maker. So that's very important. You need to speak to decision makers. Don't speak to someone who can't actually decide on that. And so make sure that it is someone who has a certain position in the company or in the organization who can actually really help you. So I spoke to someone in my organization back then, and she decided that she wanted to help me. She had no idea about sponsorship. She had no idea what was involved. But I said, look, I'm going to take care of everything. And that's what you can say as well, because, you can, for example, say, look, I've got a migration agent that can assist us. So don't worry about the details. We'll get help. And, we don't need to know exactly what to do, because we have specialists and experts who know what to do and who will guide us through the process. So basically, that person, she made it happen. She then talked to human resources, and eventually my sponsorship was on the way. And I also was true to my word. I took care of everything. I did all the paperwork and made sure that the process was as smooth as possible for the employer. But basically what I want to say is, if you get a no, and you will get a lot of no's when you're on this search for work and the search for sponsorship, if you get a no, do not give up. Okay? Well, at some stage, obviously, there is a point where you maybe have to move on. But what I can really say is persistency pays off. What I mean by persistency is just not giving up. All right? Try different avenues. And also, once you start working in the company, so say, you got the job, you start working, you obviously need to go above and beyond. Okay? So you need to be at your best behavior, obviously, not just best behavior, but also the best performance possible. So don't come late, don't leave early, don't take long lunch breaks, these kind of things, Don't try not to make mistakes. I know we're all human and humans make mistakes, but just try to really do your very best. That's all you can do, really, okay? That's what I do on a daily basis. All I can do is I try my best, but I do understand also that we're all human. We all have good days and bad days, but just really trying to give your very best. And you will see that once you stand out from the crowd, people will notice you. Your supervisor, your manager, they will notice you. And then if you doing a good job for them, they may be more inclined then also to help you. and to keep you. Because essentially, I was then telling my employer, who I was working for at the time for a few months, and essentially said to them, look, if you don't sponsor me, I'm running out of time and I don't really have many other options. So if you don't sponsor me, it probably has to mean that I have to leave this job and leave Australia, pretty much. And that's when they were like, ooh, okay, we've got to help this girl because we need her. They really needed me as an employee, because I've proven myself. I put in the hard work, I put in the hours, and what I said, I went above and beyond with everything I did for this organization. So, it's very important for this whole scenario that you have time. Look, if you only have a couple of months left, then it depends what your occupation is, of course. If you have a really sought after occupation, then it can work. For example, if you are a doctor or a nurse or a scientist or anything really in high need and high demand in Australia, then it can work. But if you are, for example, if you have an occupation that is quite mainstream, like many people have that occupation, such as accountants, marketing, what else is very common? Hospitality, like cooks and chefs. So if you have a mainstream occupation, you definitely need more time. So I would start that journey of looking for an employer and sponsorship as soon as you can. Okay? I know what it was like. I think I had 5 months left on my visa at the time, and it can get very, very stressful. I remember when I was going through this, I didn't sleep well. I didn't really eat much. And so I know what it feels like, and I will never forget that. I know it is very, very stressful. So I know what I know what my clients are going through in this process. Okay, I may check my notes just so make sure that I don't forget anything. Is there maybe any questions so far? Okay, so there's someone asking, what will be my options? I'm studying leadership in Darwin College. Eye-catching. So eye-catching, for that, I would need a lot more information. For example, what did you study before leadership? Do you have any other work experience? So this information is not enough for me to give you advice. Also, in these free live sessions, I'm not able to give individual advice. I think you do understand that, because I need a lot more. So if you want advice, then you need to book a consultation. All right? So you can go to our website, northernimmigration.com.au, on the tab book a consultation, and that's where you fill in your details, upload your documents, and then you book your the day and the time that suits you, and then you get either to speak with me, you can choose an appointment with me, or with one of my team members. Is there any sponsorship as a farm worker? Hog farming. What is hog farming? I'm not sure what hog farming is. So in regards to farming, so look, it all depends on the occupation. So this is in the consultation, for example. One of the first things that we establish is, what is your occupation? Unless it is really straightforward, unless you are, and I'm using again the examples, doctor, accountant, chef, engineer. So these are very straightforward occupations, okay? But sometimes it's not that straightforward. So for example, you said you're working on a farm. Then we go into the assessment of, okay, what is actually your occupation that is matching with something that is on the skilled occupation list? Because only occupations on one of the lists, and there's a lot of lists, can be sponsored. Okay, so if your work that you're doing is not on any of the lists, then it cannot be sponsored. Even we sometimes have employers ringing up that want to sponsor someone, but again, the first, you can't just start boom sponsoring there's a process to it. And the very first thing is, okay, what is your occupation? Because that then shows us what are the requirements for this occupation. What qualifications do you need? How many years of experience do you need? What visas can you apply for? Yeah, because each occupation has different eligibility for visas. So that is very, very important. I can see people dropping off. So we're down to 5 on Facebook. And we have 1 on Instagram. So thank you for watching. Okay, now numbers going up. So okay, maybe I just keep talking. The good thing also, so once you become a client with us, so once you have booked a consultation, we have a pool of employers that we work with. So we have companies, we have organizations, we have agencies, we have government offices, and so on. So we are more than happy that we establish that contact between the employers and you once you become a client. Okay? So once we have assessed you, once we know you, once we know what your occupation is and where you're at and so on, then we're more than happy to match you up with our employers in our database. So there's no guarantee that, we'll find work and we'll find a sponsor for you, but as a client, you have access to our database of employers. And we work with a lot of employers and with a lot of organizations because we've been doing employer-sponsored visas for a long time. And we do, like I said earlier, we have employers calling us because they know what we're doing and they know that we have obviously you as the applicants on our books. So they call us up. For example, the other day we had a call from someone who required a carpenter, or actually several carpenters. We had inquiries from employers who were looking for hairdressers. So hairdressers are very in demand. And so anyways, so once you're on our books, that's when we approach you and say, hey, if you are a hairdresser, apply for this job at this hairdresser salon. So we have a question here from Vaja saying, taking about sponsorship, what was it like? Do you mean my sponsorship? I'm happy to share a bit about that. That was interesting. So yeah, I was on a employer-sponsored visa for 2 years. Well, it was meant to be for 2 years, and that was a permanent residency employer-sponsored visa. So I was lucky that I got one of those employer-sponsored visas, but I was still obliged to be with my employer for at least 2 years. And I was over the moon when I got the visa approved. And yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed the work. I really enjoyed the organization. I was very grateful, of course, that they sponsored me. And yeah, I had a really good time. I did feel that I was working very, very hard. I mean, I have a very, I'm German, so we are known for having a very good work ethic, and so I was just feeling like the pressure that because I was being sponsored, I had to work extra hard, which is fine. It definitely taught me a lot of things, and I learned a lot of things. And unfortunately, after a year and a half, so just 6 months before my sponsorship was about to finish, and I was kind of free to go and work anywhere because I was in Darwin. I was sponsored in Darwin. It had to be regional. It was a regional visa, and so 6 months prior to that being completed, the position I was working in was made redundant, and so that was where I was freaking out because I thought, wow, I was working so hard for this, and then that happened. But luckily, I communicated with the Department of Home Affairs, or it was called Immigration and Citizenship at the time. So I communicated, I told them what happened, and then they pretty much said, because it wasn't my fault, I didn't do anything for that to happen. It was internal it was to do with funding and so on. So basically they said, because, it wasn't my fault, and I was pretty much then free to go and apply for other jobs and do pretty much what I liked. I liked the job, but it's still, kind of a feeling of more freedom when you know you can just come and go. If you don't like a job or an employer, you know that you can resign and go for another job or for a better paid job, because my payment at the time was not great. It was minimum wage, very, very low salary compared to the hours that I was working. And I was then able to apply for better jobs, better pay, better career prospects. And so that was good. I hope I answered your question, Vaja. There's a question from Pooja asking about, can you please tell more about Childcare sponsor? Yes. So childcare workers are very, very popular and very, very in demand in the Northern Territory in particular. And in the Northern Territory, there is a visa, the Dharma visa, which I talked about actually in the last live. So if you missed last Monday's live, I talked about the Dharma visa. The recording is on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So check out the last week's live where I talked about the Dharma. And so childcare worker is one occupation that can be sponsored under the Dharma. So how it works is you need to find an employer to sponsor you. Now, I find we're doing a lot of Dharma visas for childcare workers. So we're working with childcare centers. So again, if you become a client, if you do a consultation with us, then you also get access to our contacts in regards to, in this specific example, childcare centers. So, like I said earlier, the process that I recommend is look for jobs online, and also not just online, think outside the box, but do all the things that need to be done. So look online. Even on Facebook and LinkedIn, for example, it depends on your occupation though. So childcare workers may not be, finding much on LinkedIn. But for example, childcare workers are probably finding something on Facebook, maybe even Gumtree. But if you are a professional, like a medical professional or an engineer or human resources, anything in a professional aspect, then I would definitely recommend LinkedIn. There's a whole job section in LinkedIn, and make sure again that your LinkedIn profile is representative of who you are and presenting you from your best side. Okay, so put up a nice photo, provide information, make sure that the English is proper, no typos, no spelling errors. Again, if you, and I do understand because English is my second language as well. And my English was not fluent when I first arrived in Australia. My English improved over the time. So it's a process. But again, if you feel back then, like when I first arrived and I had to write applications or something, I had someone proofreading my emails and my letters to make sure that it's correct. Okay, and so also that I could improve. So basically apply for the job, and then hopefully you get an invite for an interview. If you are interstate, so like I said, childcare workers are specifically for Northern Territory. If you're interstate, you probably can, organize a Zoom appointment, like a Zoom meeting online. And just be the best version of yourself. Know about the company, as in about the childcare center. It does help, of course, if you have experience, like if you have the qualifications in childcare, and if you have the experience, and just be prepared. Like with anything in life, if you want something, have a goal and work towards it. So that's my recommendation for childcare. And Pooja, if you want to find out more about the Dharma visa, watch the recording from last week. And when you feel that you have more specific questions that you want to be answered, then I definitely recommend to book a consultation. So the consultation, there's a fee for it. So we charge for our consultations because obviously we charge for our experience, for our time, for our expertise. But once you go then ahead and engage with services for the visa, then we credit you the consultation fees. So it's basically like a free consultation, okay? But there is a process to it. There's terms and conditions. So I recommend to check out our booking page where you can find more information on that. Also, did you see it's a show of hands or comments, who saw our post? I think we did that on yesterday, or was it Saturday? Maybe Saturday. Who saw a post about the $50 cash referral if you refer a friend, a family member, or work colleague? Who saw that post? Can I just see some comments? I'm going to have a sip of tea meanwhile. So yeah, we have one person, Majid, said he saw it. That's great. So how it works, so it's new, so we only introduce it on the weekend. And you don't even have to be a client. If you are a client and refer us, wonderful. We have lots of clients referring us because they were happy with our service. But you don't have to be a client just yet. For example, if you're saving up for a consultation with us, one of the ways you can do that is refer people to us. And once they book a paid consultation, that's when we pay you 50 Australian dollars. So that means you would need, so our consultations, well, it depends where you are. Onshore consultations are 290, offshore consultations are 370. So you can do the maths as to how many referrals do you need to do. Or maybe you can say, okay, I refer one or two and the rest, I save and have it ready. Look, I mean, immigration in Australia, you need to have more than $300. Immigration to Australia requires you to have financial resources. So either yourself or you have someone who has the financial means, such as, well, maybe a family member or a partner or friends. I had clients where there was multiple people putting money together so that person could go ahead with their visa pathway. So yeah, visas are not cheap, but it is worth it. It is an investment like anything else. Okay, is there any more questions? Otherwise, I think that's what I want to share with you in regards to, how to find work and sponsorship. So it's really a step-by-step process. It doesn't all happen. There's no magical solution. I heard of really sad cases where, and please don't do that. I had heard of really sad cases where people paid some operators ridiculous amounts of money, like really a lot of money, for everything, for visa, for sponsorship, for, and so these operators, they were obviously fraud, illegal, unlawful. So these operators promised that if you pay me, I don't know, $10,000, which is a lot of money, but if you pay me $10,000, I take care of everything. I get you your sponsor organized, I get you the visa, I get you everything. and then they unfortunately ended up with nothing. So if someone offers that to you, it's too good to be true. If like anything in life, if something is too good to be true, then it may not be true. So unfortunately, there's just people out there that all they want is your money, and they actually don't really want to help you. So when it comes to finding work, finding sponsorship, I would just really you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to apply, work with recruiters. So recruiters, that is legit. So, if you have a recruiter, and some recruiters, they do charge you money for their services, but it depends how much money they're charging, but that is a legitimate service. But usually recruiters don't charge you as the applicants. Usually recruiters, they charge the companies for, if they find someone, then they get paid by the company. So it's very unusual that recruiters actually charge the applicants. But yeah, first step is to find the job, and don't mention sponsorship if you don't get asked. If you get asked, then maybe it is a topic that you need to discuss. First step is find the work. Get the foot in the door. And sometimes it even means, doing internships, working for free. So for example, when I was, younger and, had very little experience in my field, I was working for free. I was working 8-hour days and I wasn't getting paid. But what I got was experience, and I learned and I made contacts. And that's another thing, making contacts, maintaining networks, going to events. So if you can, especially if you're in Australia, go to events, speak to people. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen, because sometimes it's more about who you know than what you know. All right. There is a question from Majid. Ma'am, can you apply again for 485 visa if you have a second student visa? Majid, that is not really on topic. That is a very different question. It's got nothing to do with work visas and sponsorship visas and how to find work and sponsorship. And also, again, similar to the question before about visa options. So this is a question that we answer or able to answer in a consultation, because we need more information about that. Okay. And this is also something where we apply our knowledge, where we, look into the legislative databases, which we pay money for. So we pay money to be able to use these databases. So yeah, you would need to book a paid consultation, because we need to find out, for example, where you studied, how long you studied, what subject did you study, and so on. There's one comment on Instagram asking, is it lottery for entrance to Australia like America? So, no. Well, some people would maybe say it is like playing lottery, but that's more like a joke. It's not serious. So no, I understand what you mean about lottery. So that is about green card in America. I'm not familiar with that process at all. I just know a little bit about it. In Australia, there's no such thing as a green card and lottery. So in Australia, there's lots of different options to get visas and to migrate. In fact, there's over 100 different visa types in the Australian immigration system. And so that is part of what we do in the consultation. We find out by assessing your circumstances and then matching it to what is available in regards to visas, in regards to occupation lists, in regards to locations, and so on. And then we provide you with that information during the consultation, and then also in a letter of advice. Majid is asking, do you have an office in Hobart? We don't have an office in Hobart yet. We are expanding, but having said that, our consultations can be done online. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to be in the same room, especially during COVID. It's probably better anyways if we're not in the same room. So it's all done online. So you can choose between, well, if you're in Australia, we can speak on the phone, we can speak on Skype, on WhatsApp, on Zoom, lots of different ways to do it. So there's no reason why we have to be in Hobart or anywhere else. We have clients all around the world. We can't have offices all around the world. That'd be incredible. That'd be great. But yeah, it doesn't matter where people are nowadays, especially nowadays in the 21st century. We just connect with you online. Charity is asking, is there a chance of sponsorship for a heavy-duty diesel mechanic? Absolutely. So I can say from the top of my head, diesel mechanic, so trade occupations, yeah. So what I said earlier, carpenter, hairdresser, diesel mechanic, motor mechanic, electricians, plumbers, all these trade occupations, they're very, very popular in Australia, in high demand. So there's definitely opportunities and options for sponsorship. Charity, is that for you or for your partner? And are you onshore or offshore? Okay, Charity is not responding. So I see she's online, but maybe she's just doing something else. All right. Is there any last questions before we go? Actually, I have something to tell you. So we're doing something really, really, really exciting next Monday. So next Monday live, we don't have a topic to choose from for you, but for the first time ever, we will do a live consultation. So I have someone who put the hand up to do a live consultation. So that means, okay, I'll give you a little bit of background.